And we're live. Welcome back to the Better Than Bitcoin podcast, where we talk about the future of money. I'm your host, Jane Dabauskis. And so, quick summary. Right now, I'm doing this without a script. I'm just talking to the camera because I've memorized a lot of my positions, a lot of what I want to say, and hopefully this turns out well. So I'll start off just by what's changed since last episode. So last episode, I did a little update on Bitcoin. It was when I was back home for winter break or Thanksgiving break, I think, or before that, maybe before that. So yeah, right now I'm back in college in my fourth semester of college at University of Maryland. A lot has changed. I started an investment fund with my friend Craig, so we've been managing money for that. Doing a few positions, not just in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but a little bit of equities and a little bit of ETFs. And we've been doing well, and we continue to do well. So we're gonna have a website up soon. So I'll just post a lot about that on my Twitter. And yeah, let's just dive right into it. So what this episode is gonna be is I'm just gonna go over a few analyses on Bitcoin mainly because that's the name of the podcast. But then I want to show a little bit of trades I've taken for either myself or for the fund, and just share some because it's cool. Why not? So let me pull up my PC screen, and here we have a chart of Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart. As you can see here, I tweeted a couple days ago. Bitcoin was looking pretty good. These are 1-hour supports I have charted out here, and it looking like it wants to break above its $42,000 resistance. So yeah, that also happened since the last episode of Bitcoin. So yes, Bitcoin didn't breach above its 20K resistance when I posted last about it, and it was getting crazy. But I still wasn't feeling confident about it in terms of adding longs. But now since it's broken above all-time high resistance, and is making price discovery, and is ranging, I'm looking for the setups that I like and are by my rules, and therefore I'm liking it right now. So I started to build a long position to around $50,000 target at the minimum. I just have this little charted out just to see. So what we have here is a 4-hour chart. You can see Bitcoin just tapping off one of these resistances, flipping off into support, etc., breaking down, just ranging overall. And let me pull up a brush. And initially, once Bitcoin really made a major top at 42K, it was making series of lower highs and lower lows. So that made me think that Bitcoin was going to, this wasn't really a lower low right here. It made me think that we were going to see another lower low and Bitcoin was going to break down. But what actually happened is it broke above to around the midpoint of where that previous lower high was. So it made me initiate a little small scalp long trade going for this resistance right here. And unfortunately, actually, I put my stop loss literally where it wicked down to, and then it pumped up 12%. That was mainly because Elon Musk put hashtag Bitcoin in his Twitter bio. So he just moved the market just by existing. So that's interesting. But ever since then, it's been made series of local higher highs, higher lows, etc. And it made me think around this time that we're going to see either a lower high, a higher low and a higher high to continue this little uptrend we have here. So as I saw that it wasn't really going to retest this little small support I have here. So, and I knew the drawdown wasn't going to be that big even if I entered around here. So I decided to start building my long position there. Basically betting that Bitcoin would break above its $42,000 resistance and go for new all-time highs to 50K and above. I still expect that as is, but of course there's always invalidation points. So my little invalidation point, I stop loss for this, building this up in this entire trade, is around 32,000-ish below this resistance, or below this support right here. Because that would, in my eyes, that would make it imply that since it's already gone up this high, that this was just another major lower high. And if it doesn't really hold that support right there, it can seem like it'll make lower lows below this 28,000 to 28.5 level. Because ideally, zooming out on a 1-day chart, ideally, ignore those lines real quick. Just ignore them. I need them for later explanation. Ideally, it's great to see Bitcoin make new highs, break above it, and then retest that breakout to go up higher. So technically, that 20K resistance is right here. We broke above it. We didn't really quite retest it, but there has been a lot of institutional buying, a lot of big players in the market now, like MicroStrategy, and now Visa, actually recently, Visa has announced support for blockchain and Bitcoin payments, which is really good in my opinion. But yeah, so a lot of this is institutional buying. There's a lot of statistics about it. I would pull it up, but I forget where. But yeah, on a daily chart, just yesterday we closed slightly higher than this little resistance. So that adds to my conviction that Bitcoin will eventually break above that $42,000 resistance. Right now we're just seeing a little dip in the small time frame. It broke below this. At first it flipped it as support, and then last night, like around midnight-ish, I actually added to the position around 38,400. And obviously it broke below it, so even though I'm still bullish, my little set of rules are that if it breaks below my little supports, I turn them red, and it breaks above the red, I turn them green to flip it into support. So obviously it broke below that. It's not a big deal. Technically, let me pull up a different chart. We don't need these lines anymore. Just to get a fresh, clean page. Technically, right here, their little support or resistance started right here, broke down, bounced around it. The Elon pumped up to it, wicked above it, but couldn't close above it, then was rejected. Tried it again, consolidated under it, and then broke above it. And technically now we're just hitting that, and we haven't really closed below it for a move higher. And that move higher right here could very, 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 very well take us to retest that 41.3 to around 42,000 resistance. A break above that is pure gold for me. Yeah, pretty much that's a quick little summary of Bitcoin. I'm starting to build more position. I still, even though I already added to the long position late last night and started the position a couple days ago, I still have a decent chunk of dry powder to use if I want to add to the position even more. So places where I'd add, or scenarios I want to see play out, or setups I want to see play out before adding more to the position, is specifically here. If we were to come back up and retest and pretty much coil up for a little pennant, I'd love to see that. And within this coil, I might add more here, pretty much around the same price where I added before. If we reject this and go lower, retest the support, give it more touches, even though technically we tested it right there, I'd be lucky to add more right there. So by me adding here initially and adding a bit here, that brings my average price. I have it written down in my trading journal, but it brings my average price to around the middle of that. And if I was to buy lower, it brings the average price down. So obviously, if I bring my average price down to here without invalidating my bullish setup, that just increases my risk to reward, assuming that I'm still bullish for 50K and beyond. And yeah, I like to see retests of these supports and resistances and have them flip into, or vice versa, have a resistance flip into support. That's what I want to add. Have a support nicely held. That's what I also want to add. And that's pretty much it for Bitcoin. I've been tweeting a lot about Bitcoin. I'll throw my Twitter up on the screen at Jane Dabauskis. And yeah, that's pretty much all for Bitcoin. Another ticker that I actually posted on my Twitter and that I invested in my fund is Planet 13. It's a marijuana company, of course. And of course, with the Biden administration looking for legalizing marijuana on the federal level is obviously bullish case for any marijuana company. And this was initially brought to me by my business partner Craig. He showed me this. He's more fundamental, so I don't really do a lot of fundamentals. What I do know is that they are basically a marijuana superstore in Las Vegas. They have a very, very big headquarters. It's almost like Craig compared it as like a superstore for weed, almost like if you're from Florida or from the South, like your local Publix for weed. And apparently they're building another superstore somewhere else. I forget where it is. But Craig liked the fundamentals. I pulled up the technical chart, liked it a lot because we're just in a trading range right now. So we entered at support at around $6.15, $6.15. Not $6. Oh no, $6.15 here. We entered at 528.5. I set a stop loss for slightly below the support, and just been good news after good news for it. So obviously we're at the top of resistance. Obviously this is a more intermediate term play, so I'm not looking to fully remove the position now and just take profit. I just want to see how it reacts to this resistance level. I know that there is a CNBC article that released, I think I can pull it up. I don't know how to spell it, jeez. Yeah, a couple days ago, Democratic senators will push to pass pot reform bill this year, and they are talking about it on Monday, which is tomorrow, and that's hopefully when the market opens. Planet 13, our position goes higher. That'd be great. That's a little summary. Just pretty much trading in ranges is what I prefer. It's hard to have statistics and odds in your favor when you're just in price discovery because there's just so many unknowns. It's just kind of like, in my opinion, just blind hope, and I'm not a fan of that. I like to see previous support and resistance to increase my conviction. Obviously, that's how I'm trading now. In the future, my trading style might change or improve. As a whole, I'm not a professional, obviously. This whole podcast isn't financial advice, vice versa. Another position that I think has very, 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 very big potential is SILJ. It's a silver miners ETF. And I initially entered in a while ago at around 14 or 13 and a half-ish, 14-ish. And it's just been absolutely whipping around, trading range, annoying really. But recently it broke above that little top of that trading range, flipped it as support, went higher for the previous highs, broke above it, consolidated, broke back below it. Almost looking like, at the time, like a head and shoulders, kind of scary to see. But around here, this little just vertical uptrend was from the Wall Street Bets, this Reddit subreddit on Reddit, which you've probably heard of them now by the time you're listening to this or watching this. Is they did pump up a lot of stocks, specifically GameStop and a lot of really shorted stocks. And one of the things that was floating around there was silver, since silver's price is heavily manipulated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that whole news made silver pump, so the silver miners pumped a lot. And we have retraced most of the pump, but not all of it, and we're still holding on pretty much to this top of the trading range. I'm still very, very bullish, and in the short term, I want to see a minimum of a $20 target. And that's where I'll consider taking some profit for a lot of this position I'm in for myself and the fund. And yeah, that's a quick little run over for Bitcoin, silver, and Planet 13. So bullish Bitcoin, bullish silver, bullish marijuana. And yeah, that's a quick little summary. So yeah, like the video if you liked it, or if you're listening to this, share it. I'll put my Twitter up on the screen at Jamie Dabauskas. I've been tweeting a lot more recently. I tweet specifically entries I do, and a lot of analysis, specifically more short term. This podcast is more for long term, because once Bitcoin hits 50K, I've been looking at larger pullback, or that 60K target. Larger pullback that will hopefully be a intermediate cycle top. Still looking for that 20K retest. So in the medium to long term run, I want to see Bitcoin go back to 20K to load up even bigger for an eventual 6-figure target. Because 6-figure Bitcoin is just pretty much inevitable at this point. So yeah, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and peace out. Follow me on Twitter.